When you hear the name the Menéndez brothers, it's impossible not to think of one of the most shocking crimes of the 1980s, but to understand what happened, we have to go back to the beginning. Jose Menéndez was a Cuban immigrant who came to the US chasing the American dream. He worked hard, was extremely ambitious, and eventually became a successful executive in the entertainment industry. He married Kitty, a woman who had one been teacher and model. Together they have two sons, Lily and Eric. From the outset, they looked like the perfect family, but inside their home it was a different story.
Family moved into a mansion in Beverly Hills. They had everything anyone could dream of: luxury cars, private schools, vacations. But according to later testimony, the family dynamics were toxic. Jose was controlling and demanding, and Kitty struggled with depression and addiction. The brothers, especially Eric, seemed to live under immense pressure. They were expected to be perfect, successful, and obedient, and apparently there were much darker secrets. According to their statements, the abuse inside the home was constant and severe. All of this created a growing tension that would eventually explode in the worst possible way.
Beverly Hills emergency.
Yes, police.
What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem?
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people.
Night of August 20, 1989, everything chilling. Lai and Eric calling 911. Crying and screaming, they say they had found their parents shot to death in the family room. When the police arrived, the scene was horrible. Hossein had been shot in the head, and Kitty had been gunned down while trying to escape. At first, the brothers seeming devastated. They went to therapy, crying on television, and the community supported them. No one thought they could be responsible.
But sometime didn't use weeks after the murders, they started spending massive amounts of money. They bought expensive watches, sport cars, designer clothes. It didn't look like they were mourning. It looked like they were celebrating. Detectives began digging deeper and realized there were no signs of forced entry or robbery. Slowly, the pieces began to fit together in a disturbing way.
You got a word 24 hours.
What are you doing? What is that?
Lyle, can you drive? I don't think I can drive. Let's go, cold water.
Everything unraveled when Eric, during a therapy session, confesses to killing his parents along with his brother. The therapist, fearing of the safety of others, when the police in 1990, the brothers were arrested. Their defense shocked the nation. They claimed they acted in self-defense after years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Their statements divided public opinion. Were they victims who saw no way out, or cold-blooded killer driven by money?
The trial was one of the most television and followed on the decade. In the first trial, the jail could reach a verdict in the second. The brothers were found guilty of the first degree murder. The second was clean life in prison, while the possibility are parallel. When after all the years, the case still sparked debate. To some, they were victims of a broke system. The others, they are just murders.
Today, more than 3 decades later, Lyle and Eric Menéndez remain in prison. Some are asking for the case to be reopened, arguing that they were never fairly allowed to speak about the abuse
They suffered. New testimonies have even surfaced supporting their claims. They are no longer the rich teens of the 18th. They are now men living out their days in separate prisons, while the world continues to wonder what is justice or what is a mistake.
The Menéndez case wasn't just a trial, it was a spectacle. Cameras were everywhere, and the media didn't miss a chance to turn it into a show. The image of two wealthy young men killing their parents was too tempting for the tabloid press. But behind that image was a far more complex reality. The case sparked debates about domestic violence, mental health, and the limits of the justice systems. Years later, TV series, documentaries, and even TikToks have brought the story back into the spotlight, this time with a more critical and empathic lens.
Sometimes, when we look back and think about the Menéndez brothers case, it's easy to focus only on the shocking parts, the gunshots, the trial, the tears in court. But if you really take a moment to reflect, what lies behind this story is a mirror. A deeply uncomfortable mirror that reflects many truths about our society that we often choose not to see. The most disturbing thing about this case isn't just that two young men killed their parents. It's what that reveals about the kind of pain that can exist behind the walls of a picture-perfect home. We're taught that violence usually comes from outside, that the enemy is on the street, that danger is the unknown. But what happens when fear lives in your own home? What happens when the place where you're supposed to feel safe is the same place that makes you afraid every day? Lyle and Eric grew up in an environment of pressure, control, and, according to their testimony, constant abuse. They were never allowed to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, or to ask for help. They were expected to uphold an image, the ideal, successful, wealthy family. But beneath that image was a broken system, full of silence, guilt, and trauma. And when the trauma isn't addressed, it explodes. The Menéndez case forces us to think about what happens when we stay silent, when we deny other people's pain because it makes us uncomfortable, or when we judge without understanding the full picture. This isn't about justifying a crime. It's about asking how we got there in the first place. Because if we don't learn from stories like this one, we're doomed to repeat them again and again. Today, more than 30 years later, the brothers remain in prison. They have become symbols to some, billions to others. But maybe the most important thing isn't deciding whether they deserve freedom or punishment. Maybe what matters most is that this story reminds us mental health matters, abuse isn't always visible, and we must listen, even when the truth hurts. In the end, this isn't just the story of two brothers. It's the story of a broken family, a legal system that sometimes struggles to deal with trauma, and society that's still learning to see beyond appearances. The Menéndez story didn't end with a verdict. It's still alive because the questions it left behind remain unanswered.
Why did you kill your parents?
Because we were afraid.
Did you tell your mom?
Yes.
What did you say to your mom?
I told her to tell Dad to leave me alone. And he keeps touching me.
What did your mom say?
She told me to stop it. And that I was exaggerating. And that my dad has to punish me when I do things wrong. And she told me that he loved me.